I gotta turn it on.
Bobo.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Alright, sweet.
Yes, I am.
Amazing.
It's usually dangerous when we. Did everybody sign off on the video here? Okay.
Okay. Okay. So, hello everybody. I hope you've done your homework. So, we'll be starting with that. That's the 10 most.
I hope this takes off.
That's the thing where you 10 most creative wastes of money, right?
Yeah.
Has everybody got that?
Yeah.
All right. So the 10 most creative people will win a prize. Hopefully, you're not allergic to peanut butter because there's peanut butter cups. But that's okay. Don't eat them in class. Where'd they go? Did you take them? Okay. Oh wait, here they are.
Oh, keep filming.
All right. So they're here in this Grand Slam bag that I got in New York City. A lot of stuff happened in New York City. Don't remember what. But always remember to live by the words. If you never do anything, you find out who you are. Those words inspire me every day. So let's hear what your answers were for the homework. So who has a creative answer? Waste of money. Tim.
Funerals.
Funerals. Okay, I guess that works. So we got funerals. All right, who has something else creative? Carmilla.
Those fancy Japanese square watermelons.
Yes, that's right. Fancy Japanese square watermelon. That is a good waste of money. Dude. Weed. That is correct. That is a waste of money.
Not waste of money.
Who else? Waste of money. Waste of money.
College.
Yes.
Cleaning services.
Cleaning services. Yes, we don't need to be clean to live. Yeah, Jack.
College.
College is a waste of money. Taylor.
Designer clothes.
Designer clothes. Absolutely. Good one. Yeah, Haley.
Food at the airport.
Food at the airport. That's a waste of money.
Yeah, it's expensive. Like, I don't know.
It's expensive for no reason.
But you can technically bring food with you.
Yeah, you can, but it's like overly expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Concert, yeah, concert food, all that stuff, right? Duke, you already got one. Anybody else first? Anybody else got a creative answer? Creative answer. All right, just a normal answer. Anybody have a normal answer? Jack, you said you had one that was underpriced.
Water.
Water is underpriced. Jack asked me about that specifically. Water is underpriced. Also, same as energy and other stuff like that. All right, anybody else have anything cool to talk about? What? Jeans, absolutely. Here you go. Yeah. Oh, Jeff.
Throwing money off the top of buildings.
Throwing money off the top of a building? Yeah, that's right. Why would you ever throw money off the top of a building?
I just want to.
Danny.
Surgery.
Surgery?
Overpriced.
It's overpriced. That's right, it is. All right, I think that's all 10. All right, so good. New York bag is done. All right, so why are they overpriced? What?
This isn't a peanut butter cup.
Get over it.
Beggars don't be pickings. I didn't make up that phrase either. All right, so why are they overpriced? Anybody know why?
People think you need them.
Yeah, you can just shout it out. There's a demand for it, and so what they do is they skim money off the top to waste it from you. But why do you waste money like that? Why would you ever pay $3,000 for a MacBook when you could get a perfectly good Windows laptop for $1,000? Why do you buy the MacBook? Is it any better? It's the name. That's right. It's the name. It doesn't matter. You don't need it, but you want it because you want to be fancy, right? All right. So that's the pretext for this presentation. So, The Great Gatsby and Some Communism 2 by Adam Add Class Comment Zaccardi. Oh, what? That's right click. Oh, that's also.
This is both playing, by the way. He's not
Oh,
actually messing.
I almost had it. I think it'll just go away after a second. Hey, there we go. Gatsby in the romantic era affair with Marx, JK LOL. Gatsby seems like a love story at first, like how Patrick loves to eat Krabby Patties with triple cheese. So, Great Gatsby, if you read it at all and you actually did your classwork, it'll seem like it's a love story between Gatsby and Daisy, and how it's not going to work out because he was originally poor, he's new money, and Tom is old money, and it's a love story, and then Gatsby gets killed because he's young and he won't work with a rich girl. But it's actually about communism. This is not a joke, it's actually a true fact. F. Scott Fitzgerald actually said this himself. Here's a direct quote. It's a story of a poor boy who can't marry a rich girl, not because he's worse, but because he's poor. I know it because I lived it. In F. Scott Fitzgerald's life, there was a judge's daughter that he wanted to marry, but he couldn't marry her because her dad was all rich, and he's like, no, you can't marry a poor boy. After F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote his first book, F. Scott Fitzgerald, you'll see, F. Scott Fitzgerald married her after he got rich, but then she went crazy for some reason, and then lived the rest of her life in an asylum. So F. Scott Fitzgerald couldn't be happy and couldn't get what he wanted because he was poor and the other people were rich, and he felt that even in capitalist society, there is still a class divide. And this is This is what The Great Gatsby is actually about. It's about a poor boy who, even though he gets rich, there is still that underlying class division in America. And that's the problem with American society. You can have equal opportunity or equality or everybody can get rich or anything like that, but it doesn't matter because there's still that underlying feudalistic class divide that is evolved from our barbaric history. So, continuing on this, it's much more complex than that. Oops, a daisy, wrong presentation, silly me, vaporwave aesthetic. So, if you're into vaporwave, it's a good genre of music. It has nothing to do with vape. There's George Costanza from Seinfeld with a Windows 95 logo on his face. Some has palm trees and Japanese 16-bit aesthetic art. Look into vaporwave. Alright, actual presentation. That was the pretext. Thorstein Veblen, The Theory of the Leisure Class, a.k.a. Schmitty Werben Jagerman Jensen, because he's Norwegian. A presentation by Sir Adam Zuccardi IV for His Excellency Sir Daniker of the AP Economica. Moving on. Oh yeah, The Theory of the Leisure Class and the Legend 27. If you ever watch YouTube and you see those ads, it drives me crazy. Alright, project mandating customary slide number 1, early life. Collective groan for special effect. Everybody go, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, see, no one wants to hear that. Oh, but there's an E here. This E is your first clue. Ooh, it's like Blue's Clues. So that actually has nothing to do with it. That's just the Wikipedia article on his early life. I just copied and pasted it, so time won't be up. Just kidding. We're going on to just actual pictures, which I'm going to explain to you. So, early life education, blah, blah, blah. He was born in Wisconsin, Norwegian immigrant parents on a farmstead, and for some reason he was really smart or something. And so he ended up going to like 4 Ivy League colleges. He went to Yale, University of Chicago, Cornell, and Johns Hopkins, and taught at Stanford. So he's a pretty smart dude. But he felt like he was discriminated against because he was Norwegian, but that doesn't matter. So yeah, he was smart, so I put up some pictures of smart things, like Albert Einstein, this atom, this dude with the brain, Charles Darwin. Oh yeah, Darwin is because he believed in the evolution of economic institutions, like how we evolved from a barbaric class-divided past to a capitalist society, which still has those underlying class divisions. And Karl Marx, he didn't really like Karl Marx. He didn't agree with communism, he didn't think it worked because you can't have people equal, because underlying there still is those class divisions between types of people that there are. So, that's all those pictures. Wisconsin. Theory of the leisure class, click to add text. Click. Oh, and here's your second clue. It's a C. Ooh, second clue. If you remember the first clue, that was an E. Yeah, that's an E, so it's an EC. We're getting warm. Okay, Theory of the Leisure Class. This is the general summary of his most famous book, The Theory of the Leisure Class. He proposes that society is stratified, like a lasagna, like Garfield. Garfield likes a good meal. And so, he believed that society is stratified. And so, his idea of the leisure class was that there's a class of people on top of everybody else who have enough money to conspicuously waste it for no reason other than to try to be fancy. And that the poor people who want to look fancy will waste their money trying to look fancy so that they feel like they're part of that upper class. But the problem with this is that the poor people are giving extra money on top of what the object is actually worth to the upper class, and this perpetuates a wage gap. So the rich people have enough money to waste it, and they do, and the poor people don't have enough money, but they still try to look classy by wasting more money. And so by wasting their money, they give that money to the upper class who owns it, and so they make themselves poorer because they're wasting their money on stuff they don't need, and the rich people get more money. And that's why the wage gap is so high, or the gap in class gap is widening in America with the 1%, because we're willing to give our money to people like not Steve Jobs, but like the owners of Apple, all the crazy technology stuff, crazy expensive clothing companies. We're willing to give it to them because we want to look fancy, we want to look good. I mean, what's the difference between an off-brand pair of jeans and a pair of Levi's? Levi's cost $200 and they're really nice, and an off-brand pair of jeans will be like $20, but they'll be decent and they'll work. But we pay for the $180 more for the Levi's so that it works. It costs $10 to make an iPhone, but you pay $800 for it because some Chinese slave kid's making it in China for 2 cents an hour. We're wasting money on them because we want the fancier product. And by doing that, we are paying Apple extra money, making ourselves poor, also oppressing China because we support communism and other stuff like that, and then making the rich people even richer. So his 3 main topics were occupation division. Higher jobs are unproductive. Managers, you don't need managers, you don't need kings, you don't need any of that stuff, but we have them anyway, so they're unproductive. The lower classes are more productive. People who actually make things, people who farm, people who work in industry. Farming and industry are the only 2 real necessary jobs in society. The leisure classes uses its power and its money to hold themselves above the lower class and maintain the balance of economic utility. Now, according to Abraham Lincoln, you might remember this from my previous project, there were 3 types of jobs. There are productive jobs, or there's useful jobs, that's what they're called. Useful, useless, and idle. Useful jobs are people who are farmers and industrialists. They make the stuff and then they just sell it right from where they are. Those are the useful jobs. Everything else is useless. But not unnecessary. There's a difference between necessary and useless. You might need education, so we have teachers and stuff like that. That is a useless job by definition because you're not actually contributing to the GDP and material wealth of society. But since you're not directly making something, but we still need you, you're necessary but not useful. And then the third type of job is idle people, which are people that are unemployed or not working constantly. Now this is also the basis for communism, why they eradicated all art and all religion and stuff like that, because they felt that art and religion are things that are unnecessary wastes of money that don't directly contribute to material wealth, because that's what GDP is, a measure of material wealth in a society. But now our GDP is bloated because we're considering services that are useless, not necessarily the count of everything that is useful, because everything that's useful now is coming from South America for our food and China for our production. So our leisure class is the people who are super rich like Bill Gates. They are making things, they're making things more for themselves, and that's why they're super rich, because they own everything, they're the kings, they own the land, and we are at their mercy. And the pecuniary emulation. This is when poor people try to look rich by wasting money on useful things like iPads, iPhones, fancy desks like this, I don't know, new windows. We don't need new windows. We could survive in 90-degree weather, but we don't want to. So it might be necessary to do that to learn, but it's not useful because we're wasting stuff that's already there.
So would there be a difference in leisure class? So like, let's say you had somebody like, you know, you mentioned a Bill Gates or, you know, a former Steve Jobs, and like say somebody who does a clothing line based on their name and then tries to get people to buy that clothing line because it's their name brand. Like, are they more leisurely or useless than somebody who, like a Bill Gates, who designed something that's computer based and something that is a little more necessary?
Well, Bill Gates' stuff, even though it is necessary, it's not absolute material that he's selling. So if he wanted to sell Windows for free, he could, because he's not losing any material wealth by doing so. But he's selling information which has no material wealth to it, even though it is necessary. So it's useless but necessary, and that's why he's able to make money off of it, because he can sell something that's not real. But as for people who, so in the leisure class, we aspire to be like the leisure class. In America, I would say we are the most like the leisure class, because we can spend money on stuff that doesn't matter, stuff that doesn't need to be better, and stuff like that. Kids in Nigeria, for example, everything they do is useful because they have to get water 5 miles from their house, and they have to, I don't know, eat like bugs and stuff to survive. So, more details on theories. If you've noticed so far, every L in the presentation I made is capital. Capital L's for everything, because I'm taking the L in this presentation. Consumption-based ideology. He believed that economics should be handled from a consumption-based side rather than a supply-sider. So this was around the turn of the century, when he was around 1898 when he wrote his book. So he was consumption-based ideology at the time, which was not common at the time before Keynes. His economics evolved. He proposed that economics evolved from social institutions. Sociology and economics are the same economic institutions. So he believed that society and economics are really intertwined, whereas people like Adam Smith and current economists now still hold that economics is a mostly separate field from society. But he held that there were social motives, such as class difference and social and status anxiety, that are also driving behind economic motives to spend $1,000 on an iPhone instead of 20 bucks on a track phone. Business versus industry. He believed that businessmen and their practices are evil towards society because businessmen are the useless jobs who take on the necessary job of distributing the goods, and then by skimming off more money from the top, they make trade an unproductive institution because trade wastes money to get it from point A to point B, which is why, to me, localized trade is a good idea, because you want to keep everything local so that you're not wasting money on spending other places and that you're not life-dependent on other places. Alton's restaurant, they have really, really good chicken gyro melts, let me just say. I went there, I got it both times, it's just so good, I ate it in like 30 seconds because I was so hungry. Oh, here's the third clue. The third clue, it's a donut. What letter does a donut look like?
Oh.
It looks like it, it's ECO, but, you're getting warmer. Getting warmer. Add class comment, foolish child, this isn't even my final form, that's a manatee, it's funny. Join the Communist Party, this way to progress. Yeah. Impact on the time in economic history. He argued that people should take account of how they behave dynamically in society rather than abstractions of non-historical theoretic deduction. based on economics. So don't just think of it as graphs and stuff about how stuff works. Think of how people are actually doing stuff. And material and status pursuit in America are come from barbaric conquest. So in Europe, there were the barbarians. You know, like you go to a village, you raid everything, you steal their woman, and then you take all their money. And he believed that the subjugation of women in European society was due to the fact that women were taken as prizes in barbaric society. And so he believed that evolved from that, and thankfully we're over that now in America. But he believed that since things evolved like that, that's why we still have our economic system. And at a time when business was more laissez-faire, that's why they would, he believed that that's why our institution now, our values are more on material wealth than actual happiness, which is still a growing problem in America today. As the wage gap widens, people are more upset, and people care more about things like the news, Instagram, soft beds, nice clothes. Why people care more about those things than what their actual experiences are to make them happier. If you watch commercials for 20 minutes, you'll notice most of them are all trying to sell you how you can be happier based on your material possessions, not on how you can make yourself happier by being a better person. Have you ever seen a commercial to make you a better person? Probably just those New York State anti-smoking ones that they're mandated to put on TV. Other than that, I haven't yet seen a commercial for how to be a good person.
So are you saying like going to a shopping mall then is like a mini raid on a medieval village? Is that kind of like the idea? Is that what you're thinking? So like if we go...
No, it's the values that have transferred, not the actual process.
But like because we were medieval barbarians, our enjoyment of going to shopping mall and pillaging through the goods and coming home with stuff is like that comes from our barbarian lineage?
I suppose you could say that.
Okay.
That's not necessarily what I was going for. But his actual impact, nobody cared. Nobody did anything because we still have the same problems going on. There's still a wage gap. People are still selling stuff for more money than it's worth. And so I put a picture of Donald Trump and like Japanese kawaii because it's funny. Also vaporwave, if you notice. And then there's Blue's Clues. Ooh, it's another clue. We're getting close. We're getting warmer. Oh, here's some more graphs. This is a current graph of the wage distribution across America. The 50th percentile, which means the average person, has $42,000 income annually. The 75th percentile is that's $85,000. 25th percentile is $20,000. So that means 1/5 of the entire population of America is making less than $20,000. That's horrible. And then the 99th percentile is making $506,000 a year. Everybody above that is like the 0.1%. So the 0.1% is really behind everything here, and I think that's a huge problem. Here's a graph of the same data right here for how many people control how much wealth. This many people, they're just like, each one is less than a pixel. Each one of these people controls half the wealth. This is 500 people right here. That's 400 people. That's 50. That's 9. That's like another 4 years. Yeah, that's 40. And this is 1. So out of 10,000 people, one person controls this much. And then half of them, or 9,000 out of 10,000 people, control this many people. 90%. This is 90% of everybody in America. That's the wage gap right now. And if his policies meant anything, then we might have a different economic system today, because we might have taken it more seriously, that we can't put our values on material possessions and put everything based on our fanciness of clothes, our technology, that sort of thing. And then new income gains. Here's how much, this is the graph of income gains, so like how much your wage increased by. This is the bottom 90%, like the more money that was brought into America. The bottom 90% brought 40% new money to America, and the top 1% brought, or no, that's 99%. The top 1% brought 60% new stuff to America. Shortcomings. This is what people criticized them for. They said, well, I wouldn't buy I wouldn't buy fancy jeans just because I know that my neighbor Jimmy can't have nice jeans. No, that's not the motive, but you're still trying to be fancy. You're trying to be ahead of the crowd. You're not doing it to be specific, so I think that criticism was invalid. He assumes various statics and dynamics, which people said, or most economists said, that the economy is mostly static, it doesn't change. However, now that we know that it does change, so that criticism is invalid. And some people, and many people, considered him the best critic of capitalism America has ever seen, even though he's mostly forgotten, because who can ever remember a name like Thorstein Veblen? And then shortcomings, it's like homecoming but shorter. And I put a picture of the Office Christmas party because I like The Office. And it's funny. Also, he's sassy brat of an economist, and he's chill because he's boring and mean. That's what people said at Stanford. Wah wah. There's ching chong. Ooh. That's like made up German and Chinese. Oh wait, what? No, wait. What? No. Nobody cared. No. How the theories used today? Answer: Daily Double. Who is the spiciest meme lord? I don't know if I had ADHD or something, but my doctor said I was emotionally unstable, and I punched him in the face and then ran away and cried.
What are you talking?
You gotta do what you gotta do. I need to focus. Collaboration, innovation, passionate individuals working together, inspiration, the global economy. These are the things that you will need to be an expert at if you're to survive in today's economic climate.